Hey guys, welcome to week 4 of Books Being Sick. I am Nick, and I enjoy saying that out loud. That's pretty cool. Ugh. It is a very frigid week here in Canada. Very, very cold. We think we hit like minus 25 the other day. Weather warnings. Don't be outside too long, or your face is gonna fall off. And yeah, it's been pretty chilly. One of those kind of weeks where you just want to put like one of those furry like bear hats on with the goggles and just like, go get some soup from the soup store. One nice thing about this weather is that it is ultra cozy, best weather for reading, and so that has been really, really nice. I think this is probably actually my favorite time of year to read. Summer reading's great, fall reading's great, spring reading is also great, but something about winter reading, just kind of being inside with like a blanket, maybe a heating pad, maybe one of those like liquid bottles that you put, they're like red or whatever they are, and you know the ones I'm talking about. They've got like those lines on them. Man, I love those things. So, and just a snack, maybe some hummus, some pita chips, not cheesies, because I actually read a book once while I was eating cheesies and I got orange stuff all over the book. Really frustrating. But, I'll always remember those Cheetos every time I open that book. I can't actually remember what book it was, but anyway. So the big news from me for the week is that I finished The Stand by Stephen King. This is kind of like my big reading accomplishment of reading. So far this book is crazy big, crazy long. I don't know if it really like appears to be that big, but it is. This is the complete and uncut edition that Stephen King released, I believe, in the early 2000s, that has all this extra stuff in it. And, I had obviously never read the other version. This was my first time diving into it. I remember asking a bunch of people who had read The Stand, do you recommend reading the uncut version or the original version that first came out? And almost everybody that had read the uncut version said, you got to read that one. It's just so much better. There's so much extra stuff in there. And if you like Stephen King's kind of long-winded sort of writing, sometimes that's the one for you. And I'm so glad that I did it that way because, really fell in love with this one. And Oh, really quick too, just in terms of the length, I was going to say some like stats. It is 1,153 pages long, I believe, 471,000 words, and I think the audiobook is just under 50 hours. It's like 49 hours or something like that. So very, very, very long book. But oh man, just feels like so good to have gotten through it, and I just absolutely loved it. As I was saying in regards to the characters, it is very character driven, very developmental in terms of the characters, and I love that about all books, and so I obviously love that about this one. And there are so many characters in here. To not give anything away, I'm going to be as like spoiler free in this as possible. I'm not going to give anything that doesn't need to be given away. But this book is about a super flu that takes over the entire world. Basically, it wipes out 99.9% of the population. Everybody's dying. The first half of this book is basically just people dying of the flu, which is, you'd think about the length of this book and you're like, so you're telling me 600 pages of this are just people dying from the flu? Yes and no. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of that is the characters that survive this flu realizing that they are going to survive, and what are they going to do? Everyone they know and love is now gone. They got to meet up with fellow survivors, and there's basically all these characters that have survived are having these dreams where there's this light, positive person, named Mother Abigail, who is kind of calling to them to come to her. And there's also this evil dream that they have of this guy named Randall Flagg, who is kind of a very, villainous and all that, and they're having them, call to him. And basically, so these people have to make a choice, like, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go to survive? It's very fascinating, very, very cool. The first half of this book, a lot of people would say, is Stephen King's best writing he's ever done. Just again, with the super flu taking over and all these characters kind of realizing what's happening, and the way he kind of unfolds the whole thing is just so brilliant and so captivating and so good. And so, if you haven't given this a go, give it a go. I would also say that the back half is fantastic. A lot of people kind of complain about the ending. A lot of people complain about all of Stephen King's endings. Let's be serious. That's probably the biggest gripe on him, is a lot of people say that his endings kind of sometimes fall a little flat. Not that they're terrible or bad, but they just sometimes are a little that is not the case for me. I've always loved his endings. I just love him so much. And that was the case for this one too. I thought the back half of this book was so entertaining and so good. It was, I sometimes have a hard time explaining things, but I thought the back half of this and the last 6 or 7 chapters, I guess it would have been, for like the climactic ending of this was great. Really, really great. Everything I could have wanted. And yeah, so The Stand, just a beautiful book. One other thing I wanted to note on, I can't remember if I had mentioned this before, but there is a chapter in here, and this just kind of like throws back to just me saying how good Stephen King is at writing characters and making you fall in love with them. There's a chapter in this book, I believe it's chapter 38, where it's just paragraph long things where you are being introduced to a character and then they die from the superflu, and you find out how they die, what happened, who they were before that happens, all in just paragraph long things. And it's, I believe, I can't remember how many characters were introduced to that die, but it's quite a few. And for each and every single one of them, you're like, oh man, like you kind of feel it every time. And he's able to kind of make you relate to a character so quickly, and then feel personally affected when something happens to them. And the same goes for the mainstay characters in this book as well. They were all killer, some, literally. And, again, there's so many bright lights in this book and so many villains. And, obviously, as I said, there's kind of like the one main villain in Randall Flagg, but there are other kind of side villains that, in my opinion, were so much more devastating and than Randall Flagg himself. And just brilliantly done. I don't know how much more I can really say about it. My favorite characters were all of them. I thought they were all great. There's no flat characters for me. I loved all the chapters. Each character, especially for the first half of the book, has their own have their own chapters, and so you're not kind of like bummed out when you get to a certain character. You're like, oh, I gotta Andrew chapter now or whatever. All the chapters are great. I love them all. Specifically love Nick Andros. I thought Nick was probably personally my favorite character. There's just something, the interesting thing about Nick is that he is a deaf mute, and so he's traveling by himself trying to kind of figure out what am I going to do here, and he stumbles across a gentleman named Tom Cullen who cannot read. So you have Nick Andros, who communicates via writing, and he can read lips and stuff like that too. But then you have Tom, who can't read, and you have these two people now traveling together. It's just right off the bat, the dynamic of that is just awesome. That's so. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to get too spoilery. I don't want to give away too many plot points or anything like that. The Stand was incredible. Highly, highly recommend you give it a go if you haven't. I don't think I could have enjoyed this any more than I did. And I think I actually would have gotten through it a lot faster had I not started it right before the Christmas holidays. It took me about a month to get through this, but I started reading this, I want to say, on like December 17th. And then I remember from December 22nd until basically January 1st, I barely read anything. I almost didn't even read a page. So I probably would have had this done a lot faster had I not started it right before the holidays. But yeah, and that's not like I just mean because it was that good. I was just too busy to pick it back up, but it's all I could think about when I wasn't reading it. Okay, moving right along. Thank you for bearing with me there in my gushing of The Stand. So the best thing, you guys, about finishing a book is you get to pick another book. That is probably the most exciting thing to me anyways about loving books and loving reading, is once you finish one, you get to go to your bookshelves or go to the bookstore and be like, whoa, what am I going to read next? It's such a good feeling. And so it's been about a month since I've been able to do that. So I was really feeling it. And I had a few books picked out that I thought were going to be my next reads, shorter books, kind of just that I could get through. Not that you should just be getting through books, but just books that weren't going to take me a month to read, 200-300 page books that I had on the shelf for a while. All the ones that I selected are not the ones that I chose. I went to my bookshelves and I was kind of just doing the skim through. I kind of skimmed through for a solid 30 minutes actually. And then I landed on one that I shared, I think, in the first or second video on YouTube that I ever made. And that is The Picture of Dorian Gray. So I don't know why. I just kind of last night was just it was just calling to me. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, I think I'm ready for a classic. I just want to do a complete switch up. I love right off the bat. So I should mention I'm halfway through. I started it last night. I'm halfway through this already. I actually will be honest. I didn't super love this for the first little bit. I thought the first two chapters were interesting. I was like, okay, okay. Then chapter 3, chapter 4, I was really falling out of it. I was like, oh man, like I don't know if this is for me. I was just not that I was bored, but I was just kind of like I didn't know if I really cared about anything that was going on. I'm so glad that I continued because, as I said, I'm already up to halfway through. I'm probably maybe going to finish this by tonight, if not tomorrow at the latest. It's really picked up, and I've really fallen in love with it that quickly. Something happened, and it's not even like something big or dramatic happened in the book. It's just as I kept going, I was like, I actually need to see what's happening here. And so yeah, I'm glad I picked that up. It's been really really cool so far. I believe I want to say this is Oscar Wilde's only book. Did I read that right? I might be totally talking out of my you know right now, but I think I saw that I read that this is Oscar Wilde's only book, and I in my head, as I got to the halfway point, I was like, oh, I can't wait to read more by him. But that might not be the case. Yeah. So anyway, Picture Dorian Gray, really, really good. Something right off the bat that I did really love about this book is the dialogue and the way it's written. You know, it's 130 years old, I guess, at this point. And so I'm getting very similar writing styles to, you know, Alexander Dumas in The Count of Monte Cristo, which I read about half of. Just very poetic, beautiful writing style. The dialogue is like, I don't know if maybe people did kind of talk like that back then. Maybe they did, but it's just very like paragraph long single dialogue that's just very poetic and philosophical and thoughtful. And it's just like, you know, that'd be pretty impressive for someone to just like stand up and just say something like that out of nowhere. But maybe, yeah, maybe that's how they talked. I don't know. Either way, it's really enjoyable to read and very different. So that's been great. So that's my next read. Again, hoping to be done that one by tomorrow at the latest, and then we'll jump into something else. Then I get to pick my next book again already. How sick is that, right? Anyway, I don't think I really had a whole lot else to talk about, and you know, I just hope you're. Oh, you know what? I got this candle here. Someone sent me this candle, Novel Wicks. Give a little shout out to Novel Wicks. This is called Sweater Weather, and I just found this on my shelf a little while ago, so I gotta crack this open. It's sparkly too. I don't know why I'm sharing this. It's just like, you know, cozy vibes, sweater weather. Maybe I'll light a sweater weather candle and finish Dorian Gray. You know, just live my dreams. I hope you're awesome. I hope you're so good. And thank you for watching these videos. Bye, guys.